Hi, I'm Karen. I want to discuss how the fear of Wells Fargo's foreclosure strikes me really fast and causes my health to decline almost instantly. On the 9th, Wells Fargo won the foreclosure in that, and that day, the judge filed the judgment for them and filed the notice of sale of my house. Okay, so, but I didn't know on that day. I've been calling the court to see what's been filed, and on the 13th was a Monday. I call on the Mondays. They said nothing was filed. But on the 16th, a couple days later, I woke up with a bad headache, which I very rarely have now that I have enough vitamin B12. If you have a lot of headaches, you might use B12 lozenges and they might reduce them. They certainly reduced how many I have. But anyway, I woke up and then later in the day, around noon, I learned that this had been filed. And then, I got shivering cold and was losing my balance. My knees would give out. But I don't fall to the floor anymore because I have a walker. So that's an intense kind of fear. In contrast, when I lived in London, my little son and I were in a flat over a florist on Goswell Road. And one night, it was late in the night, I was sleeping and I was woken by a noise. But when I first woke up, I couldn't work out where the noise was coming from. And my son's bedroom that was near the door and also a locked door to the next part of the building, which that door was permanently locked. But I, wondered if someone had, gotten in that way. It was near my son and, a threat, a serious threat. But when I sat up in bed and I could identify that the noise was from the kitchen and the guy had come in the window. So I said in a gravelly voice, I didn't choose a gravelly voice, it just came out, "What are you doing?" And he went back out the window. Well, I didn't, not initially. I jumped up and I ran to the door of the kitchen and grabbed my bracelet mandrel. My bracelet mandrel is like maybe 5 times more of a weapon if you used it that way than any bat because it's heavy, heavy metal, hollow, but still really heavy. And so I was going to hit him with it. And he went back out the window and he did cut himself because there was blood there. Then the next day I could see that. So my point is that when there was a really serious threat, I jumped out of bed and, I was going to defend my son, whether the guy was not going to get near where my son was. That was I think what motivated me to do what I did. Because my first thought when I woke up was the noise near where my son was sleeping in his bedroom. Okay, but here, it doesn't seem to be that I have that sense of action. Instead, the fear immobilizes me effectively, but I got over it. And the next day, I wasn't as sick. Still scared, but not as physically affected by it. So I think one of the things that I think worries me is that on Twitter, it surprises me how many people attack me for asking for help to save my home and garden. I think, for one thing, they don't realize how old I am when they say, well, just go back to work and earn it. Earn what you should have. They're so mean. I don't understand that. I do have an avatar of morning glories, so it's possible they don't really understand how old I am or how being sick, would reduce the kinds of jobs I can get. I can't get a job because, for one thing, I can't remember much. If someone tells me something, it's, I can remember the feeling of what they said, but I like to follow directions and things. it's very difficult because I have a brain injury. So I don't think many people, like on Twitter, appreciate that Wells Fargo had a duty to serve me the complaint, and that once Wells Fargo qualified me for loan modification and then reneged, Wells Fargo itself was choosing to not let me pay my mortgage since 2009. I mean, they insisted that I have the 8.5 interest, which was huge. My mortgage payment, were I able to pay it, is like over $1,000, whereas it started out at 500. So I think if people recognized or appreciated that not just you and me and mortgage holders have responsibilities under the law, but also banks should have those same responsibilities and not be allowed to break laws. Politicians, people in Congress, how do they get away with taking bribes? I mean, I don't understand why people on Twitter come down on me for asking for help to save my home and garden. And then at the same time, the people in Congress are just doing these horrific things. I mean, why are kids in Yemen being killed with bombs that Hillary, who so many people supported, and even some people continue to support her? I mean, can you imagine Bill Clinton being in the White House again? I mean, why would two allegations of sexual assault by or sexual harassment by Roy Moore be more important than the dozens of cases of women saying Bill Clinton raped them? This morning I read an account of a young woman who was pregnant, and she was shot in the back of the head and died. And she had come forward about Bill Clinton. I just don't understand why the chasm, the huge gap between how I'm treated and how Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are lauded. They should be in the White House. I mean, I don't get it. But anyhow, the point of this was to deal with why I felt such fear now. And in London, I just took action. Thank you for listening. I do believe that in the end, I'm going to be able to get the money to hire the lawyer, the appeals lawyer, who will clearly and effectively do the appeal. I can't do it because of the brain injury. I can't count on myself to get the right word or even string ideas together accurately so that someone else can understand them. So I do believe it will work out. I'm sorry this is so long. Thank you for listening.